Chapter 5. Remember professional ethics. When political leaders set a negative example, professional commitments to just practice becomes more important. It is hard to subvert a rule of law state without lawyers, or to hold show trials without judges. Authoritarians need obedient civil servants, and concentration camp directors seek businessmen's interests in cheap labour. Before the Second World War, a man named Hans Frank was Hitler's personal lawyer. After Germany invaded Poland in 1939, Frank became the Governor-General of occupied Poland, a German colony where millions of Jews and other Polish citizens were murdered. He once boasted that there were not enough trees to make the paper for posters that would be needed to announce all of the executions. Frank claimed that the law was meant to serve the race, and so what seemed good for the race was therefore the law. With the arguments like this, German lawyers could convince themselves that laws and rules were there to serve the projects of conquest and destruction rather than to hinder them. The man Hitler chose to oversee the annexation of Austria, Arthur Seyss-Inquart, was a lawyer who later ran the occupation of the Netherlands. Lawyers were vastly overrepresented among the commanders of the Eisenstadt-Gruppen, the special task force who carried out the mass murders of Jews, gypsies, Polish elite, communists, and the handicapped, and others. German and other physicians took part in ghastly medical experiments in the concentration camps. Businessmen from IG Farben and other German firms exploited the labour of concentration camp inmates, Jews in ghettos, and prisoners of war. Civil servants, from ministers down to secretaries, oversaw and recorded it all. If lawyers had followed the norm of no executions without trial, if doctors had accepted the rule of no surgeries without consent, if businessmen had endorsed the prohibition of slavery, if bureaucrats had refused to handle paperwork involving murders, then the Nazi regime would have been much harder pressed to carry out the atrocities by which we remember it. Professions can create forms of ethical conversations that are impossible between a lonely individual and a distant government. If members of professionals think of themselves as groups with common interests, with norms and rules that oblige them all at times, then they can gain confidence and indeed a certain kind of power. Professional ethics must guide us precisely when we are told that situations are exceptional. Then there is no such thing as just follow orders. If members of the professions confuse their specific ethics with the emotions of the moment, however, they can find themselves saying and doing things that they might previously thought unimaginable.